Kara.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
I am terrific. And are
Good.
you staying cool in hot Nebraska?
I am trying to. It was over 100 today. In fact, my car says 111 right now.
Oh, well,
But
please.
it's not really that hot. It thinks it is.
The engine thinks it is.
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Well, please take good care. It's hot up here in Minnesota too. It's you wake up to excessive heat warnings.
Yes. Yes. Well,
But
you take care of yourself.
I've been fortunate. I could stay in all day, so I could.
Good.
Okay, so Kara, I'm so excited to talk to you about this because the sermons the last 2 weeks have been around the same Bible story, in Genesis.
Yes, Joseph in the book of Genesis.
Yes. So that's probably a conversation for another day, why there's 2 weeks, around this story when there's other stories to be said.
Yeah.
But what caught my interest about your sermon was kind of this whole notion that God creates, I'm going to say, lemonade out of lemons. Like the struggles, like God uses the struggles to something, to help us grow, to help whatever. So I want to explore that with you because I think that's a really interesting notion, especially now when so many people are struggling and suffering.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also just want to commend you. What I love about you also is just like, you don't have the answers. You're exploring, your faith and the Bible stories, just like the rest of us. So I don't expect you to have all the answers, Kara, but I always enjoy like rolling around in these questions with you. So
Yeah, me too.
so let's talk about struggle. Why? I mean, no one's exempt. Everybody's got struggles and challenges. There, and a lot of people are struggling now in a number of different areas. So what do you think the purpose of struggle is, Kara?
I don't personally believe that. I guess let's just start off by saying that I don't personally believe God causes our problems or struggles. I don't believe that there is a God who sits up in heaven and says, I'm going to make Kara have cancer today, or I'm going to allow this to happen to Nancy. I think that it's not intentional on God's part, but it is a remnant of being a part of a broken world. And that bad things happen to people all the time. Sometimes it is random and we have no control over it. Sometimes it's because of bad choices that we've made. So I have made the choice to not exercise and to smoke and drink heavily. Okay, I may have heart disease someday. And part of that's on me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it's God punishing me for something. So I think that rather the remarkable thing is that God will take our bad choices and the brokenness of this world and will pick us up and use the suffering we have to bring good out of the situation somehow. And I think that's where I would call it redemption. Because we have these horrible circumstances that are occurring every day in the lives of either ourselves or people we know or people that we don't yet know, but who God loves. And it's easy to put that on God's plate and say, why are you allowing this to happen? Why did you cause this to happen? Have I been a bad person? Why am I being punished? I mean, I hear these questions a lot. And I think the truth is, for myself at least, that no, we're not being punished. No, God is not a vengeful, spiteful God. It is a byproduct of the way of the world right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting you share that because there's events that we cause, right? To your example, I might not be taking care of myself in whatever way that is. And I might end up having a situation financially, relationship wise, health wise, whatever, that is a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
you know, wrapped up in struggle. But then there's events like the fires in Maui,
Yeah.
right? Um, what's like, when is, what are we meant to kind of lean into? Like, when is it our struggle and it's like our work to do? And when do we see kind of struggle and suffering of others, right? And what's our role? And what's our role in that?
Sure. Sure. Well, I think that I guess where I want to start is by saying that, and I mentioned this in my sermon, people will say, oh, well, we're being punished for something because of all the fires and all that rain and all the hurricanes. And obviously, this is the end of the world. I mean, you hear that all the time. People have been saying that for thousands of years. And
Mhm.
I don't think we're being punished for something, although do we deserve to be punished for something? Probably. But I think that again, it's our poor choices in taking care of the climate, and it's just things like that. But what we're supposed to learn from them, I think, is that we're supposed to take care of each other. First of all, we're
Mhm.
supposed we're supposed to look at the sufferings of those around us and say, that person is my brother or sister, even if I've never met them. And my role is to take care of the people in that I can take care of. Can I take care of everybody in Maui? No, I can't. But can I send fresh water and kits to help people clean up or rebuild, or money to help homeless people? Yes, I can do that.
Yeah. 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 Um, so there's this, so I I really like this idea that God loves us no matter what. And they're really, and God's love is omnipresent. Like God, the God force isn't passing judgment on us at all.
Yeah.
God, and since we're a part of that creative God force, we have a role to play, right? How do we how do we act from love as opposed to fear and hate and things like that?
Right.
Um, do you think that even in the depth of a struggle, a personal struggle, if we lean into love, do you think that's when kind of the miracles open up? That we kind of release it to have it be kind of, let the universe orchestrate itself, on our behalf?
Sure. Yeah. I like that. Leaning into love. And I think we do have to be open to receiving the miracles that are already there in our life. Sometimes we don't see them, we're not open to them. And, but that idea of leaning into love and accepting the love God has for us and us loving others, perhaps prepares our hearts for having the eyes to see the miracles around us.
Mhm.
It also makes me think of the idea of forgiveness. And maybe we're getting in there, but I don't want to jump ahead. But the idea of, with Joseph's story, how he had to forgive his family in
Mhm.
order to perhaps receive the miracles that, or at least see the miracles that were at play in his life.
So let's go there, because I'm curious if how forgiveness and miracles are tied to each other.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because the Joseph story to me is more like, I think we could all do this. And anybody kind of over the age of 25 probably has enough life history to say, you know, I thought this one thing that happened to me when I was 12 was bad, but in hindsight is exactly what I needed to grow
Right.
and evolve and change direction. So I do think with some life, with some years, like Joseph, we can put things in perspective. Like if his brothers wouldn't have sold him, he wouldn't have ended up somewhere else, and then he wouldn't have been, somewhere else, and then he wouldn't have been somewhere else, and then he wouldn't have been able to support his family,
Right.
during the famine.
Right.
So that's kind of my very elementary explanation of that very intrinsic story in the
Yeah.
Bible. But I wasn't so sure. I'm not so sure forgiveness was part of that. Wasn't
Okay.
it
Tell
through
me
it?
more.
So what's the role of forgiveness? I'm just play with me here because I'm curious.
Okay, so I'll start, but then I want you to say more. I guess I think forgiveness frees us to see things in perspective.
Mm,
When we hold on to revenge or grudges or bitterness or hatred, we are not able to see the picture fully. But when we can free ourselves from those things, then our hearts are, maybe they're just uncluttered, and we're able to take in maybe more than we were before.
mhm.
And that in and of itself is a miracle.
Oh,
To
see?
be freed from the hatred of not forgiving, to be freed of that is in and of itself a miracle.
So I want to share this with you. This is part of I do a daily practice with a year of miracles with Marianne Williamson. So this was yesterday. As I let go of the past, I allow for miracles in the present. My situation might indeed be bleak. I might have made a huge mistake, been given a raw deal, or been betrayed by others. Yet still, what matters is what I think now. Am I lingering in the past or allowing for a miracle in the present? Am I blaming myself and others or forgiving myself and others? Am I attached to what happened or embracing new possibilities? The universe forges a new path forward in any instant when I align my thoughts with the thoughts of love. The laws of time and space are malleable, for through holiness I transcend them. I am entitled to more than help. I'm entitled to miracles.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that good?
That's beautiful. What a timely devotion.
I know. I'm like, I got to share this with Kara and our readers today. So then I was kind of exploring that, and what I learned through another podcast I was listening to is there's actually around the Earth and our atmosphere, there's a magnetic field, and that is also the collective consciousness, and that is where the field of love is 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 present. And then the astronaut Edgar Mitchell, when he was coming back from his last mission in space, he experienced being in the collective consciousness and I'll say the omnipresence of the love field.
Huh.
And he
Wow.
came back and he started the Institute of Noetic Sciences,
Huh.
to study this. So anyway, so IONS, which is in California, they research all this stuff. They research collective consciousness and whatnot, and now they're able to measure the strength of the collective consciousness in relationship to compassion.
Okay.
So now there's kind of this whole thing of what we need to do now is do as much compassionate action towards ourselves and others,
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to step us into the field of love where the collective consciousness is, and that's where we are all one.
Sure. Yeah.
We're all part of all that is, right?
Right.
So then I get to these very ego-based concepts like forgiveness. Who am I to forgive anybody?
Mm. That's an interesting take on it.
So
Okay.
I can go to this big universal, space, and then I'm like, who am I to forgive somebody? Or even myself.
What if forgiveness is really only about us?
Mm.
It's not about the person that needs to be forgiven. It's about letting go of our chains, being free
Mm.
from that which holds us hostage by forgiving others. Maybe the whole point is not that it frees others, but that it frees ourselves.
Ah, okay.
Then,
I can
then
live
it
with.
doesn't sound so arrogant.
Yeah, because I'm like, where's the ego in this? Like, I'm not so sure I'm supposed to have this much ego around forgiveness. However, I love the idea of opening up to miracles every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, me too. So you cut out there for a second. Did you have a question?
No, I just had to reflect on your brilliant comment.
Oh, you need to raise your standards, Nancy.
No, I'm doing just fine. See, there's a miracle. It's you and I today. So, yeah. So, do you have any words of like what should we do to step into kind of forgiveness and allow miracles to be present in our life? What should we do?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
What can we do to to make lemonade out of lemons when we're struggling? You know what 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 do you suggest we do?
Um, I think that the power to change that situation is entirely in our own control. And it doesn't mean the cancer is going to go away. It doesn't mean that the bullying is going to stop. It means that we can change how we respond to that. And it's like, um, who was the woman? Oh, um, I'm not going to remember, but the quote is something to the effect, change what's happening to me, but I can always how I respond to it.
Mm,
And that ultimately that's the greatest freedom. And
mm,
so when we have lemons, we're always going to have lemons, but we can make lemonade out of it by shifting the way we perceive that.
mhm.
So perhaps trying to see God in the midst, trying to let go of the things that we're holding grudges against or anger against or hatred against, and opening ourselves up to the possibility of miracles.
I I love that, and thank you for that guidance. Sometimes I kind of walk when stuff happens. I just kind of like, okay, let's see what you're going to make about this. I'm looking for everybody to be, safe and happy and loved and healthy. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like that's my ask is let's create, a healing experience out of this, whatever that looks like. I don't know what I don't know what
right.
it looks like, but I do kind of give it up sometimes. I'm like, this is beyond me.
Oh, yeah. That's why God is God and we are not.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
beyond us. Yeah.
However, we all have the guard particle. So I do want to challenge ourselves. I challenge myself on that. We are it.
Mm,
The choices we make every day um, is the divinity in physical form. I mean, we're it.
hmm.
There might be something bigger and more unknown an unseen, unknown, untangible thing. But since God is love, when we act in love of self and others, we are being the light,
That's right.
which Jesus asked us to be, right? Be the light of the world. We're it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. I like that idea of having the God within us, because what it makes me think is if we each have a little bit of God in us, then we need each other to flesh God out fully.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one just back to the Maui example. I saw Hillary Clinton being interviewed by Rachel Maddow, and they were just talking about that. And Hillary was like, and isn't as devastating as that is, terribly devastating. You also see the beauty of what America is, the donations, the help, right? People are coming, right, to help lift those people up, and it'll take years to rebuild and whatnot. But you see that side too, the compassion and the generosity, in challenging situations like that.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. Not a very good connection today.
We're good. Mary's going to
That's
clean this
okay.
up in the editing suite.
Okay.
Um, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to play our closing little thing. This is always fantastic to spend
No.
time with you, Kara. I learned so much, and I know our listeners do too. So I look forward to seeing you next week again too.
Okay. We'll chat about when.
Thanks for joining us at First Presbyterian Church, where faith is nurtured, curiosity encouraged, diversity welcomed, and all are loved. Find out more about us at fpclincoln.org.
We did it.